Rolling?
Yes.
And I know a whole lot of little things. And even though I could list them one by one, oh, he would still be gone.
Hi guys, my name is Tim McGraw. Wait, that's not me today. Hi guys, my name is Ty Herndon. I am an American country singer. I've been so fortunate. I've sold a bunch of albums. I've toured the world. Oh my gosh, and I have met so many people in my life. I've been very blessed. 5 years ago, I came out as a gay man in country music. Of course, I've always been a gay man, but it was time for the world to know. I've been doing this 25 years. I actually started singing when I was 5, but we'll get into that later. But I'm gonna have a little conversation and journey with you guys about country music and me, and a little bit of insight into my life and who I am.
Microphone check, check, 1 2 1 2. You should be going in line level. Check, check.
Yeah, the first one's gonna be your vocals, so turn that win all the way up, you know.
In 1982, I did a little show called Star Search. Some of you might remember that or not. I went all the way to the end, and this 3-time Tony-winning friend of mine now, Sam Harris, actually won the whole thing. But that took me on a journey out of Nashville into Texas, where after about 4 years after that, I won Texas Entertainer of the Year. Sony came to Texas after I won Texas Entertainer of the Year. They heard about this dude that was killing it out in Texas, and they told me that I was okay. They said, "You're okay." I was happy to hear that. They said, "You're okay." I said, "Well, I'll take okay." They said, "We're going to record one song on you, and if that song does well, then we'll do a whole album." That did not work. We did that, but after we got What Mattered Most recorded, and I went in the studio and recorded the song, and it was somewhat tailor-made for me.
His eyes are blue, his hair was long, he's 64. He was born in Baton Rouge.
It was 14 short weeks later, after they put the single out, that I had my very first #1 record. And not only did it stay #1 for a week, it stayed #1 for 3 weeks, which was crazy for a new artist. So my head was spinning a little bit, and all of a sudden I was on a tour bus and I was traveling all over the country. And it was just a crazy life. But I was hiding some pretty big secrets at the time, which became very painful. And quite honestly, as we get into this, I almost didn't survive that. So, but for a little guy from Alabama who started out singing in church, all the way to Los Angeles on a show called Star Search, and then just really 3 years later having this huge hit record, it was amazing. It was quite the story. Wow, if you ask me who my musical influences were, it probably wouldn't be people that you guys recognize. I started singing when I was 5 years old. My grandmother played a Gibson guitar. My uncle played a steel guitar. My mom, my aunts had a singing group growing up. They all could have been the Loretta Lynn and Patsy Clines of their time. On my dad's side, there were quartets and great singers. So I came from a huge legacy of music within my own family. And any one of them could have done what I do today and probably done it better. But they really are my heroes, to be honest with you, and my influences. But I did listen to a whole lot of Merle Haggard records growing up, and I listened to a lot of Patsy Cline. I listened to a lot of Loretta Lynn, Cowboy Copas, and my gosh, the Statler Brothers, and Connie Smith, and all of these trailblazers back then, Jeannie C. Riley, Bobby Gentry. I knew that I loved so many artists out there, but one of my greatest influencers and I really only have one musical hero out there, and it's Bonnie Raitt. I mean, she is just the best singer on the planet, and I love her journey. I can relate to it so much. I keep waiting for her to write a book. Come on, Bonnie Raitt, write that book. Anyhow, one of my favorite artists is Carrie Underwood, and she's so spectacular. But I recently recorded one of her songs called "So Small" that actually saved me and helped me stay in the music business. I was living in a friend's guest house. She had this grand piano sitting in the foyer of her house, and I hadn't touched the piano in 10 years. And I sat down there and I started plucking away at songs and ideas. And 1 year later, that album came out, and I got a Grammy nomination and won a Dove Award from pure determination. And by the grace of God, it began my journey. That's before it came out, because I had a huge secret. And gosh, not even my family knew. And so trying to survive that and make it work in country, Christian, gospel, bluegrass music might be the miracle of my life, to be honest.
Tell me something, who could ask for more than to be living in a moment you would die for?
The decision to come out was difficult, but I have this really good friend, Shelly Wright. She's my sister, but she also had a bunch of #1 records. We were running up the same dirt roads together, as I like to say. But Shelly came out, it's been 8 years now, so she came out. She is my hero because she did it first, and it was very brave, and she handled it with such grace. She had a book, and then she came out with music. I also saw this woman who was braver than anybody I've ever met, and she counseled me. We're friends. We started having a real conversation about what coming out looked like. And one thing I knew, which was the pivotal point for me in my decision, was that I was in this great relationship and love with a beautiful man whom I'm still with today. My family, everything, after so much turmoil over the years, I just was in a really good space. But the only thing that was not well in my soul was the secret. And it was time for the world to know. So I was completely willing to walk away from the music business, completely.
Best part of showbiz, y'all, tuning. And believe me, this is cool because you get on stage and one guitar's out of tune, you can hear the one note the whole night.
I made the decision one morning over a cup of coffee. I'm a big wellness person, a big meditator. And I went into this space of complete calmness, and I knew in that moment that everything was going to be okay, one way or the other. I let my staff, all my people know what was going on. I flew to New York City. It does take some planning to come out, just so you know. I thought about just doing a YouTube like my buddy Billy Gilman did, but I wanted it to be something that, for my fans and my people, because I've had such a long journey with all this, that I wanted it to feel really special, mainly for me, mainly for my comfort level.
I'll lay beside you forever in love. And when they carve my stone, all they need to write on it. Once lived a man who got all he ever wanted.
I took Matt with me. Matt's the boy that I was telling you about. I took Matt with me to New York. It was such an emotional day. I remember getting up at 6 a.m. and getting on a treadmill. And before I knew it, I'd like been on this treadmill for an hour, and I was just drenching in sweat. I left the treadmill, went and showered, got a cup of coffee, and I sat down with People Magazine and Entertainment Tonight. And Entertainment Tonight's been really good to me. I had a lot of crisis in the past in my life with addiction and some really ugly stuff, and they've always been really kind to me. So the first thing Nichelle did was pull up an interview that I did in 1998. I didn't really expect to get too emotional that day, but I was like looking at that guy. I'm like, oh my God, what a journey this young man has had. And she asked me, she said, what do you see when you see him? I said, I embrace him so much. I said, I want to jump in there and hug him and just thank him for surviving. And that was the start of the conversation. It was just beautiful after that. By the time I got on a plane the next morning, I was supposed to come out on the 14th, November the 14th. I think it was, I got home on the 13th, and my phone started blowing up. I guess somebody broke it early. And I woke up, I kid you not, I woke up to over 200 text messages. 200 text messages. And I'm like, uh-oh. I knew immediately. I was like, uh-oh, somebody broke the story. I had messages from family and friends and from people I haven't heard from in years, and just congratulating me on the beginning of my life. And I still get a little emotional when I remember that day. Wow, and I felt so loved, So my coming out story really took about 6 months. And it took a lot of thought, a lot of prayer, a lot of meditation, a lot of conversations. And I have to tell you, I'm so glad that I didn't have to stop singing. I'm so glad that I didn't have to walk away.
These preamps over here sound really great. They're universal audio. They're like our secret weapon.
Isn't it funny how it becomes such a language?
Yes, it is.
I felt like any kind of dealing with homophobia, I felt like I'd, in my mind, been dealing with that my whole life. I was just so afraid that people knew and that they'd heard a rumor about me, which did happen. I would get calls from the record label saying, okay, we had a report that you were out in a gay bar last night. And I was like, my God, I had on sunglasses and a ball cap. Who recognized me? And I learned in that moment that the world is watching. And so I somewhat became a recluse a little bit. I stayed on my tour bus a lot or stayed in the hotel room a lot. And I was afraid of homophobia. I was fearful. I was a coward around it. And that's funny for me to say today because I'm a little bit of a cowboy from Alabama, and I fight hard and fast if you talk about my friends, if you talk about my family. And I had to learn to do that for myself. And it was a difficult journey. I will never forget a week after I came out. I had this sold out show. I thought 3 people would show up, and there were 5,000 people in their seats. And my knees were shaking. I was scared of the homophobia. I was scared that someone was going to throw a Coke bottle at me or throw something at me. I don't know. It was just in my head. I'd seen stuff in movies. And I walked out on stage, and it took me 10 minutes to start because the crowd would not sit down. They would not stop clapping. And I became the crying cowboy that day. I was so humbled. I looked around, and even my band was crying. I was like, guys, we got to get our stuff together and do a show for these people. And it was a magical show. I'll never forget it. I cried through most of it, of course. I think the universe places these moments in your life, and the universe, God, whatever you want to call it. If you listen and you pay attention and you're aware, they're so there.
I never asked, he never said. And when he cried, I turned my head.
I get the opportunity to go out and talk to these amazing LGBTQ plus kids. And it's so interesting. I knew that I was gay. I knew that I was different. I already knew at 10 years old. So when I go talk to kids today and they say they know, believe me, they know. I was going to be a teacher, preacher in the world and share all this love and grace. And that's who I was as a kid. It's who I am today. But I hadn't got that far in the Bible yet where I knew I was going to burn in hell. I hadn't got that far down the road where I was going to be not forgiven and die a sinner and all this crazy stuff to put into a kid's head. So I went from this vibrant child to this withdrawn, almost no personality. I mean, I couldn't tell anybody. Who was I going to talk to about it? So I learned in a moment that I had to become a liar, that I had to be an actor, that I had to go to great lengths to hide who I was. And that eventually took my life because it doesn't work. It doesn't work that way. I grew up feeling that way, so it's so easy to speak into that. What I tell them is this. Here's where the preaching and teaching comes in. We'll just say teaching. If you feel unsafe coming out, if you feel like you're going to go home and tell your mom and dad, and you feel unsafe about that, then don't do it. Hold out, build some community around you with people like the Trevor Project, Love Loud, In Circle, Human Rights, even GLAAD, and they all have hotlines. And there's so much community out there today. I don't want to get too heavy on this beautiful journey today, but the suicide rate in our country for 14-year-olds and under is stupid. And for a kid to get kicked out of their church, their home, by their parents is so insane to me. Once again, with love, community, understanding, and direction, and education, a kid can go out and do anything they want in this life and in this world. So the greatest thing I have learned with working with the LGBTQ community is they're so willing to love you and give you advice, especially the kids. They will school you in a New York second. But I think I learned the importance of where I was going with my whole coming out story night one. I don't have any kids, but and I certainly can't give advice on parenting, but I can give advice on loving your kid and supporting your kid and making them feel safe. That much I do know. And so I learned that in night one that I was actually going to get to be that teacher preacher again, and it was pretty dang cool. Oh, hi. I remember standing in front of the microphone 25 years ago, because what mattered most is 25 years old now, and I wanted to give it a birthday present. It was such a gift to me, and I'm out now, and I go out and I talk to all these kids and young adults and parents. So I sat straight up in bed one night and I said, that's it. That's what I'm gonna do on this new album. And I changed the pronouns from her eyes are blue to his eyes are blue. And you know, I think this song says she or her in it like 36 times, something like that. Because it is a love song. It's a song about a guy who messed up and he still loves her. Or a guy that messed up and he still loves him. Or a girl that messed up and she still loves her. And that stuff was running in my head. And so I never thought about the pressure of it or what people would think about it. I just knew I had to do it. I had to put my lyrics where my heart and mouth were. And I went into the studio and I was standing there and the music started. We got this gorgeous track. It was all business for me. And the track started, engineers are in place, a few friends standing around. And man, I sang the first line. I thought I knew the boy so well. And I just lost it. I broke into probably the biggest sob of my life. And my friends and my engineers and my producers, they let me have that moment. They all left. They left and let me have that moment. And I needed it. 25 years of secrets, lies, addiction, almost death came barreling down onto me almost like a revival. And I truly felt free at that moment.
I missed the point, and I missed the signs. If he's gone, the fault is mine.
I think you can hear that in the vocal. And that's what people tell me. We love the original song, but there's something different about you in that vocal. And I'm like, yeah, man, there's something different about me. That's for sure. That's special. Well, these legs are strong. This heart is strong. And it's just a man loving his life. It ended up being not only a gift for the song and not only a gift for myself, but a gift to all those kids out there that I go and talk to all the time. From 10 years old, I mean, I'm going to say not just kids, up to the lesbian couple. She told me just a month ago she was 87 years old and she and her wife had been together all this time and they finally came out to their family. So it's for all of that generations that song ended up being sung for, and it was a true gift to be able to do it. People love our social media stuff that we do because I post once or twice a day. Just basically, we're always letting people know where our music's going to be and where we're going to be touring. But you get a lot of insight about my life and things that are going on, with Matt and I and Mom and I and my nephew and I and just friends. But also, we just launched our Patreon page, which is pretty cool. It's almost like a modern day fan club, really. I remember I paid $5 to be in Selena's fan club. It's the only fan club I've ever been in. It kind of reminded me of that, just to give the fans a time to be exclusive with you. That I may be sitting in my living room going, hey, you guys, I'm having a modern day family day. Just something, silly. But you can find me on Ty Herndon.com is Instagram. It's all the way across the board. Ty Herndon on Twitter. And I know many of you out there are on what I like to call the face place. We're there too, Facebook. So we're there. I'm not hard to find. Hi guys, I'm Ty Herndon, and you're watching Here TV. Don't you dare touch that dial.
Who could ask for more than to be living in a moment you would die for?
Thank you.
Is that good? Perfect. Well, I hate to eat and run, but moms and dads, I got to.
All right, thanks, man.
You're beautiful.